Very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure welcoming all to this wonderful workshop that's going to happen for the next 2 hours. Who really wants to read your book? I would like to give a statistics. UNESCO estimates over 2.2 million titles to be published worldwide every year. Readers are inundated with content and books in multiple formats. In this context, who really wants to read your book? That's a beautiful question we need to get the answer for. It's an interesting subject enough to make you a successful author. Does a good book establish you as an author, or your book is read because you are known and looked up to for your opinions and thoughts? Do you need to therefore build your own personal brand first, or market the book once it's ready to be published? So you may be having a lot of questions in your mind. So come discover the answers to these and other questions at an exclusive masterclass that's going to happen now, which is titled as Author and Book Branding by Mr. Xavier PRabhu, founder of PRHUB and BBLF 2020. And I'd like to give an introduction about Mr. Xavier, one of the leading names in the Indian branding and communication space. Xavier is sought after by leaders from both private and non-profit sector for counsel on brand building, image building, and reputation management. He has been an editor, journalist, entrepreneur, consultant, copywriter, and teacher in his checkered 26-year career. He is sought after speaker, but he doesn't take much engagement. He does one or two speaking engagement a month. He keeps himself busy with other stuff. He is among the handful of Indian communication professionals to have spoken in 13 countries worldwide and interacted with 1 lakh plus students, that is the management students, communication and engineering students, across educational institutions in India and overseas. He has worked closely with some of the largest global publishers on their Indian PR communication support and also successful promotion of individual authors and books. And he is currently half done with his own book, which is likely to see the light of the day soon. So without any further delay, I would like to welcome Mr. Xavier onto the stage to take it forward. And for the next 1.5 or 1 hour 45 minutes or whatsoever, he is going to keep you enthralled with this powerful presentation. Welcome, Mr. Xavier.
Thank you, RK, so much. Hi, everyone. And I think it's been a pleasure to see you all here. And it's my privilege to be sharing some of the knowledge that I've gained over the past few years, doing a mix of personal branding and book promotion. So I'm going to share many of that. And I'm really apologize for the slight start delay in start. I think we will make up for it. And I'm actually going to keep it interactive. I'm running a presentation, but I think you feel free to stop, ask questions at any point of time, and I'd be more than happy to answer. And we have two special guests joining as well. Mihir, who wrote that $1 billion startup, which has been doing really well and has received critical acclaim. And then Jesse, who's one of the most known marketing names in India, and who's written a book called No Money Marketing. So you can talk to her about how do you guys market your book or about to be book for no money. Okay.
And sorry to interrupt, Mr. Xavier. Yes, maybe I can give a couple of technical announcements for the attendees. As of now, each voice, video, and screen is clear. So we are also monitoring from the backend side. So maybe if someone is having any voice issue, yes, feel free to communicate in the form of the chat box. Anyway, we are also checking it over here. And if there is any issue at the host end, we will also let you know in the chat box. As long as we say that there is a voice issue or video issue, definitely you people can make sure everything is right at the host end. Also, as Mr. Xavier said, any sort of questions or your comments, your feedback, your encouragement, encouraging words, we can leave it in the chat box. And also, you have the exclusive questions box also. If you like to put any questions, you can put in the questions. Any other comment, feedback, all these things can be in the chat box. Now, it's over to Mr. Xavier.
Thank you, RK, so much. I hope all of you can see the screen.
Yes, sir. We can see the screen.
Audio book, which is the girl. The best time to be an author is today. There is no other time in history that we've gotten so many things that have come together.
All right. Mr. Xavier, I'm sorry. Actually, now the voice is breaking.
So is it better now, RK?
Yes. Now it's better. Your screen has stopped now.
1 minute. This is the first time that I'm using AirMeet, so pardon me. So now I think the screen should have come back now.
Yes, sir. We can see the screen.
Awesome. So this is the best time, like I was saying, because the social and digital explosion has actually made a lot of us, as authors, accessible to a much larger audience. The amount of platforms and tools that we have today, covering the entire process of writing, publishing, promotion, and branding, is actually there. I would say that it's much more developed in US and other places, but I think the good sign is that in the last 2 years I've seen that happen in India, and there has been a lot of companies that actually have revolutionized self-publishing in India, like Notion Press, which alone has done for 4,000 books so far. And like I just spoke about, the audiobooks, ebooks, audiobooks, everything has taken off. So you actually have multiple formats to choose from, or you can choose to do all of the formats when you do your own book. And interestingly, one of the good side effects of the pandemic that we are going through is people are doing a lot more reading. Of course, they are reading virtually, they're reading audiobooks, they're listening to podcasts and many other things. But the good thing is that reading has made a comeback, and books actually have become the best personal branding tool that you can ever think of. It just is an amazing tool that just takes your personal brand or the author brand to the next level. So so if you're looking to write, please be serious. Like not like me, I've taken the last 1.5 years. I'm still not there yet. So I think you do it much faster and better. And I will tell you how to go from here to actually successfully marketing your book. A lot of people think that once they have written a good book, they're done. Not really. There's 90% of all books in India sell less than 2,200 copies, 2,000 copies a year, and only 9% sell between 2 to 10,000, and less than 1 sell more than 10,000 copies. And just remember, I'm talking about the overall books in India. So if you actually drill it down to the business or the nonfiction of it, it's actually even more a fraction of it. And just remember, when I say nonfiction, it's largely mythology that is now. And even within nonfiction, I think historical nonfiction is doing very well in India right now. So if you just look at it, it is actually a huge amount of options out there for potential readers. Not to mention that because of globalization today, people can access titles from anywhere, which is what RK was speaking about, the 2.2 million titles a year. And then you add all the ebooks and audiobooks, then you are actually literally fighting a deluge of millions of different kinds of books crying for attention. So the good book is just a start, and I think you need to do a lot more. So one of the things that you need to remember when you just get into book marketing and branding is that it is a long process. And I don't want to scare all of you, but one thing that I've sort of looked up and looked at the best across the world and their advice on book marketing. The ideal time to start marketing or building your brand is actually 3 years before your book. But I know that many of us cannot do that. So the most pragmatic, shortened time frame that you can think of is roughly 3 to 6 months. 3, I would say, is quite less. I think 6 is fairly fine. So, and then you have the launch of the book and then post book marketing. So you're essentially looking at a process of roughly 6 to 9 months and more, even in the constrained or shortened phase of campaign. So just prepare for that. It's not a one-off 1 month kind of exercise. The second is that this is just proven with a lot of data points in the past and today, and I think personally that it's going to become even more important because of the clutter. Is that your book, for it to really sell well, the author needs to be known. The brand of the author actually makes a huge difference to the sales of the book, and book marketing and promotion is very important. But I think if anyone comes and tells you do this and you will get guaranteed 500 books sold or 1,000 books sold, I don't think so. It really works. I myself have actually sat through multiple workshops on book marketing from different people. I don't believe people who come and say, this is possible, just do this. I don't think so. There's any magic bullet. I would suggest that, you just get started, do the right things, and I think you will learn as you go along. And I think you get better as you do this more often. The fourth is that, a lot of us look at the Amish Tripathis, the Chetan Bhagats, the Subrata Bakshis, and the Rashmi Bansals of the world. And then, you start comparing yourself to what they have done. I think, like individuals, like brands, even books are very, very custom and personal. I don't think so. There are, comparisons, logically, because it's like comparing apples to oranges, right? So I think you need to set the context for yourself, which is, different from what you see outside, or, what you've heard, or what is, visible to you from, media articles to, Amazon bestseller lists or whatever. I think you need to choose your path. And I think it's good to set it as incremental and, milestone wise, so that, it's also easier on you. The fifth one, that's very surprising, and I hope any of you can ask, and I can actually, detail it more out for you guys, is that social media doesn't sell books. It creates a lot of visibility. It creates community. It creates a set of people for you to market to, as you build your profile and career as an author. But it just doesn't help sell books. And of course, people can ask, can't I do Facebook ads and other things? And don't they help in book sales? To an extent, yes. And we will talk about that in detail a little later. I've already said this. Each author is very, very different. And the approach that works for them would be very different. So what I suggest is, read a lot, go through sessions like this, observe as much as you can do, and then, you build a custom approach based on that and what works for you. You may not like this, check is here, and you can't just run away from it. And influencers explosion has happened in India. There is some plus and minus to it, but then they are here. Usually authors don't think about privacy and security, but I suggest that you definitely focus on that when you plan for your book and your own author branding. So these are the four big buckets from when it comes to book marketing. The first is social and content marketing, starting with website, blog, your multiple social platforms, newsletters, podcasts, everything extra. So this is actually a bucket. Though I've said that social doesn't sell books, this is very important because it allows you to build a platform or a foundation on which you can then add other elements that then take you towards success in book marketing or author branding or whatever. So what I'm saying is that it's a very important tool. It is just that it is not something that's going to get you 1,000 books sold or 2,000 books sold or something like that. The second is digital marketing. I've split it into two, email list and paid spends, both on search and social. One of the things I just wanted to tell you here is that there's a lot of discussion out there on digital, and there are actually people who say that you can actually sell books through digital. The answer is yes, but I feel that a little bit more emphasis on email list is actually good, because I think that really works. And we will talk about how do you acquire a mail list and build it a little later. Getting the word out through the traditional and the non-traditional media is a third bucket. And the final one, of course, how do you get that on ground and price it right and get yourself to sell more. So I said it's a marathon. I think just treat your first book as a start, and I think don't think it as a stop. Okay, so I think that's actually a good attitude, and I'll tell you why. We tell this in branding to everyone, and in communication to everyone, is that there is no harvest that happens overnight. You got to prepare the soil, and then there's a whole lot of process, and it's a long process with multiple stages in it. The author branding, the book marketing process is similar to that. Just don't plan like a small sprint, plan it like a marathon. Get your best along. Even though I said, incremental is the focus, but in that, just ensure that you put your best foot out, and then look at a multi-platform, multi-tactics strategy and plan. This is obviously, a dead giveaway and logical, because there's a lot of clutter out there that there is no one silver bullet or a gold bullet or that's going to work for you. It's going to be a mix of things that will work for you. So it's good for you to have a plan in place with all those elements in place, so that you can then move it. I think a lot of us think the words like consistency and all of that is for larger brands. It's not true. For example, today, I don't know if you saw me, I was wearing a Nehru jacket, and one of the things that I intentionally do is that any public speaking or engagement that I do, I always seen in two things, right? I either wear a Chinese collar shirt or I'm in a Nehru jacket. These are small things, right? How I articulate myself on LinkedIn or Facebook, to the kind of style I follow in my writing when I write an article or a blog. So these are small things. Many people underplay that. I believe it's very, very important, because the sum of all of this is what builds your brand persona. And also, once people see that consistently, it also builds trust, which I think is very important. And like I said, like I had clarity for myself in terms of the brand persona that I want to communicate. I think you need to really, really ask yourself about the brand persona that you want to communicate to your readers. And I think this is fun, and this is exciting. And I'll tell you something, when I did this to myself, I think you end up learning a lot more about yourself, which is actually a very nice thing. And you actually discover a lot more, and you open up a lot more, which is what happened to me. And I'm sure it will happen with you as well. Get professional help and get a cover that aligns to your genre and comes across as professionals. I don't want to underplay this, because you actually have looked at a lot of books and not picked them up because that cover was not appealing to you. First impression always counts. You can't emphasize this more in today's context, when all of us have become very individualistic. So we got to look at personalization and targeting. And the good thing is, there are lots and lots of platforms and tools today which allow you to do that across multiple areas. So I think it's all about you just picking the right one that works for you and investing in it and using it and leveraging it well. And keep looking at data that comes in from your social, your email list, and all of that, and then use that data more and more to not just fine-tune your messaging, but even your marketing tactics, your approach, your investments, and all of that. As you learn this over a period of time, you do get a fair idea of what really works for you. And I think that's a good point to go from there. Sort of, you will have a fair amount of control over your books. And I'm assuming that your books are really good in this whole process, and I'm treating it as hygiene. Today, I think all of us know this. You got to shout. I think this world is a place where I think if you're very quiet, unless you're a genius and a really big genius at that, you wouldn't be noticed. So I think it's a good idea to go all out on promotion. And today, when I say promotion, the good thing is, like I've said actually already, I think 4 times, there are immense amount of options, right? It's not just Amazon, it's not just Apple Books, it's not just Google Play. It's a lot more that they're out there today. I've tried to list it towards the end of this workshop, the number of tools and sites that you can potentially look at. I think there are a lot more, and obviously I can't cover that. And also, as an afterthought, I'll just tell you one more thing, is that book marketing and promotion is actually a vast ocean. And I think there are books on individual slides that I'm putting out here. There are books on just that one slide. So, it's a fascinating thing. So, whatever I'm saying here, just treat it as a start. And I think just, discover more as you go along yourself. Excerpts are very, very big. I really think they have a huge role in book marketing, because the only way a reader can assess and judge both the author and the book is the excerpts, right? The moment they sort of like it, I think they've almost bought into the book. So the more you push, a preview of a book, or anything that is like giving an idea to the reader about the book or about yourself as an author. And let me just tell you a little bit of the difference between when I say the author, and I'm assuming nonfiction here and business here, then you need to focus on building your area of expertise. Okay, let's say you're going to write on supply chain. I'm just taking something very, very boring, but you can build yourself as an expert in supply chain over a period of time, and then you can go back and write a book. I think then it sort of becomes a natural progression, and then you can give a little bit of hint into what that book is all about, and then you will attract an audience. Niche books are really, really good. I think I've given out another marketing tip there, is that if you're starting your journey as an author, it may be a good idea to start with a niche and then build a book there, because then it's easier, because then you have an audience already defined who want that book, who will be interested in that book for you to market yourself to. The horizontal or the wider genres are always difficult, because there are already multiple people in that, and it will be difficult for you to market, and also it will be more expensive for you to market. Hit every bestseller list, influencer, media, and all of that. And considering visual is really, really big, I think look at a slick video trailer. I think 2 years back, this was not even there in the lexicon of book marketing, but I think it's become extremely important in the recent past because of the focus on video and visual. Give your books away. It just doesn't cost much. I think the more people come to know and interact with your book in its various forms, the good for you. So, let's say you're in Bangalore, you're in Bombay, you're in Delhi, and you're in a particular location, GK2 or whatever, give away your books to the local library, offices, and wherever your target audience is likely to be. And I think the most interesting example was, in my last trip to Singapore, as I was, getting into the metro there, on the seat, someone had just kept a book and gone, and for free to pick up and read. And actually, I took that book, I read it, and it's still with me here. And obviously, that's a way you can market the book as well. And of course, there's a limitation in terms of how many copies you give away, but I guess you should factor that into your strategy. Reader magnets, you scratch my back, I scratch yours, is the most viable policy in today's world. Reader magnets are nothing but a incentive, a very tangible incentive for your reader to either subscribe to your mail list, or to buy your book, or to do something that is beneficial for you. One thing that most authors do is sometimes they give away an ebook as an incentive, hoping that the reader then upgrades themselves to the physical one, or they give them an excerpt or a couple of chapters, and then use that as a incentive to get them. Or they say that I'm giving you an ebook, why don't you subscribe to my mail list? So reader magnet is actually very, very awesome and phenomenal. Like I said before, there are actually 10 books on just reader magnets. So it is an area by itself, and it's something that you can delve further, but I think it works for book marketing. Like I said, you can't run away from technology. So there are immense amount of tools, from Spearmint, which you can do for your podcast, to BookPub, which is for your book promotion, and then you have social cataloging sites, and then there are sites that allow you to exchange chapters or ebook of your book for people to sign up onto your mail list. So there are just tools a dozen. Just figure out what works for you. Most of them have a free version, which is very basic, and then you can upgrade yourself as you go along and your needs increase. Voice and visual search has become key. For example, you can just check this out on Google yourself next time, and observe your own behavior. Many of us, when we search for books, we also go and look at the book cover. Okay, so in the Google search, you will see images and video. So you can actually see that a lot of us naturally go there. That's how a visual search has become important. And now that we have a lot of voice recognition software technology improving, voice-led search is also increasing. The other reason why voice search will become big is that, be it Alexa or Google Assistant or anyone, all of them are gateways to search. You just go and tell Alexa, hey, Alexa, I want to read a great book on motivation. So Alexa then, gets options for you, and it's voice led. Chatbots, we all thought chatbots are for companies. Not really. Chatbots are today used in various aspects of book marketing and promotion, and they actually are powerful. And with a lot of AI and others going into chatbots, you can actually use them for the entire book marketing cycle today. And use it also to automate some amount of your handling of social and the marketing process itself of your book or author branding. Hackers are in, frauds are here. So, please invest in securing your website. I would say that host in known servers and be very careful about your mail list and other information that you get of your readers. Highly important. There is, of course, GDPR in Europe. India has a privacy regulation now. US has its own. So you also have to be careful about, because if you go wrong with it, it can backfire on you in a big way. So it's good to be careful and invest in it. The third is, you also need to tell the reader that you are careful about their information and their details that they're sharing with you. I think a lot of us would want to see that before we share the information with an author or for a book promotion. So, like I said, this is plunging into the details. So, is there any questions that you have? And before that, I just plunge into the tactics. And let me also just check. RK, can you just check if Mihir is there?
Yes, sir. He has joined. He's over here.
Okay. So, Mihir, just give me 5 or 7 minutes, and then I will probably get you on in.
Yeah, sure.
So, let me just. So this is actually Rashmi Bansal's website. And actually, I would tell you that what she's doing is actually one of the, book marketing best practice. She is engaging readers and she's giving them something every week. This is actually a beautiful, well-known best practice in book marketing. Okay, readers enjoy a new short story from me every week. So, you're glued in, you're coming back, she's engaging you, and she's in that process built a, huge engaged audience, which is a target and, a ready-made audience for her next book. Okay, so, you got to invest in, your website. And I'm just also, just going, she also has written multiple books. So, they have different, section for each book, or it could even be a microsite. So, just look at that when you do your website. That's what I said. When you start to become an author, don't, plan for one book. Plan as if like you would write multiple books, so that your foundation is set right. Okay, so even if you don't write the next book for multiple years, still you've created the foundation for it. Whenever you start to do the next one, you've already ready, and there is an audience that you've created to sell to. Like I said, there are a lot of tools today. In WordPress, I think you have a tool called My Book Table, which actually helps you earn money through affiliates and obviously through selling more books. And you of course can do as many affiliate links on your website and add all the social feed and the RSS feed as well. This is another author, of course, this is Preeti, and she writes a lot more fiction, and here okay, she does give you a lot of information on what she does, and she also does a lot of counseling and tips on personal relationships, all of that. So here is her hook to keep her audience engaged. She also writes a column on relationships. So, so that's her way of engaging a reader. So if you're an author, you got to figure out what is the content that you have that you can actually use to, hook your readers for long and have them engaged with you for a very long, so that, you have a ready-made audience that's engaged and, know about you, and, there's a connect and, a relationship that's built that, you can then take it to the next step. These are all the other things that you can do on your website, so that you have the ability to leverage it. And I just wanted to tell you only one thing. A lot of people go for free websites, and I don't think so that's a good idea. I would strongly recommend that you get a domain name of your own and host it on a very reliable server, and invest in building a good website. I think since Mihir is already here, I will just stop my presentation, and then I'll just go on to Mihir, and then we will have a quick chat with him, and then we will come back to our presentation. Hi, Mihir, can you hear me?
Yeah, hi Xavier.
Hi. So I think all of you know Mihir really well. I think what he has done with his first book has been phenomenal. I've read about so much of his book, and by the way, he's won the Book of the Year award here in BBLF as well. So congrats, Mihir. So I think $1 billion startup has gotten you $1 million visibility.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Xavier. I think you can stop your screen so that you both would be seen on the screen. Audience can look at you both.
Okay, done. Done. So, Mihir, tell me a little bit about the approach that you took in writing the Flipkart story. Why did you take the approach that you took? There must have been options to you available, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the problems that a lot of people have with business books is that they tend to get bogged down by the financial information and data and numbers and stuff like that. So even books that are really interesting are not then kind of read by as many people as they should be. So I was very clear from the start that I did not want to write just a finance-driven account of Flipkart. I wanted to write a narrative. I wanted to bring out the real story of the people behind Flipkart, and all the drama that went into the making of the company. So the main reason for that was that again, I wanted the book to be accessible to as many people as possible, and I also wanted people in the startup ecosystem to to really know the story as such behind Flipkart, because the basic facts, how much funding Flipkart raised, the fact that it's India's most successful startup, then the huge sale to Walmart. I mean, all these things are well known, and it'll be very difficult to really kind of bring out some completely new financial analyses about these things. So my approach was to obviously have all this data and numbers and financial information, but not to weave the story around that. In fact, the approach was to weave this into the story rather than base a story around this. So
you're absolutely right. I think human interest and drama, I think we got to bring that into business books as well. I got it. And I think Krishnamurthy has a question. How did this idea of writing a story about Flipkart came about? When did you get that brainwave or trigger or whatever?
So I had been covering Flipkart for Mint since 2014 on a regular basis, and I had first been approached to write a book on Flipkart in 2015, but at that time by a very well-known publisher. But at that time, I wasn't really sure if that was the right time to do a book on Flipkart, because Flipkart was entering a very, very important phase in its journey, and the story as such was by no means complete, and there was no it was very difficult to kind of get a very interesting narrative around Flipkart at that time. So I did not take it up at that point. And then what happened was that the sale to Walmart took place in May of 2018, and that really brought the Flipkart story to an end, at least as an independent company or as a startup. And then one could make sense about the story. So the fact that there was a conclusion to the story, and that I had been covering Flipkart for so many years, uh, you know, really kind of drove me to the book to do the book. And I think what was very clear to me from the start was that this was a very, very interesting story that had to be told in its entirety. I think the time that Flipkart really uh, uh, came to the awareness of a lot of people was really after 2013 or so. And by that time, Flipkart was actually already a biggish company. And after 2014, of course, it became a huge company as such. But there was also the pre-2013 phase, which was super interesting, and about which even I did not know that much while I had been reporting on the company for Mint. So for me, the whole point was to bring out the story in its entirety, and I thought that like it deserves to be brought out. And a lot of people, even people who have been connected with Flipkart, who thought that they knew the company, even they would find such a book insightful and worthwhile. So yeah, so that was how the book came about.
Yeah, thanks, Bhishma and Krishnamurti. I know you guys have asked 4 more questions, but since Mihir is there, I'll just sort of complete with him, and then Jesse's will be there in another 10 minutes. So we'll sort of do that, and then when I start my slides, I think I'll first answer your questions before I go back into the session. Mihir, the next question. Your book has been phenomenally successful. What worked for your book from a marketing promotion perspective, and importantly, what did not work? You tell me both.
So I think to start with, what worked was that Flipkart was a very well-known brand and India's most successful internet startup. So I think the subject by itself was interesting. I think, again, as I said, the book was written in an accessible way. So when the first few readers actually got their hands on the book, they were not really disappointed, after reading it. And they, in fact, got the word out. But I think what we did from our side was that we ensured that we had a mix of coverage, especially in the first 2 months, because that phase is actually totally critical in terms of the marketing activity around your book. Like, if you don't get the word out in the first 2.5 months, then unless your book is phenomenal, it's not going to sell. So what we did was that it was not all planned. It was also luck. But we did get a lot of coverage over the first 2.5 months. So in fact, the first 2.5 weeks, we were very, like, it started very slowly, but after the first 2 weeks, it picked up in a very big way. And then we managed to get these bursts of coverage in newspapers and in online media over the next 2 months. So I think we did a pretty good job of making sure that people at least know that there's such a book out there that is kind of the untold story of Flipkart. And I think even in terms of coverage, what I realized was that you need a mix of coverage. Like, you should not only get excerpts, you should not only have articles, but you should have excerpts, you should have articles, you should have news pieces, you should have pieces by the author, and of course book reviews. Book reviews, I think, are possibly the most crucial aspect of the coverage. Once, because you can get excerpts out anywhere, but book reviews are done only by some people in India. So you need to ensure that you get your book to these reviewers before the book is launched. So that's what worked. Some of the other things that worked were that we got coverage in a lot of mainstream media publications. Like we were covered in Times of India, we were covered in Financial Express, Business Standard, Hindu Business Line. I think again, while social media is on the rise, and while and people don't read newspapers as much as they used to, but like a lot of people actually still do read newspapers. So you have to ensure that if you can, your book gets covered in these publications, and even over there you have to tailor your pitch to the publication. So for instance, with Times of India, we pitched a news story because they would obviously not carry generic articles. So we knew that.
Sorry for interrupting you. You being a journalist, did it actually help? Because you're talking about story pitching. You're a recipient and a expert at it. Was it really helpful to you because you're just doing what you're doing anyways?
So actually, it was helpful to be a journalist, but it was not that helpful to be a mint journalist because, like some papers declined to cover the book because the competitor. So what I realized was that it would have actually been helpful if I was not associated with any particular paper at that point. But certainly, being a journalist helped because because you've seen so many pitches, what works. So obviously, when you pitch something, what to do. So from that point of view, it helped a lot. I think another thing was, doing a mix of things like podcasts and the traditional media part. So I think you have to be on as many platforms as possible. I mean, not in an indiscriminate way, because say, for instance, this book, while it has been written for pretty much anyone to be able to understand it, but the main audience is still startup people. So, initially you have to ensure that at least like most people in the startup world are aware that such a book is out. So then, you try and get word out about your book on platforms like Your Story and Ink42 and a bunch of others that are startup news platforms. So that helped. And then thankfully, a lot of readers in the first 2.5 months were writing to me, giving their feedback about the book. So I really urge them to post their reviews on Amazon because that is actually a rather crucial aspect of buying books. Like when a reader, because of course, there are other things about offline bookstores, but that is not under your control. That is something that your publisher will take care of. But at least on Amazon, you have to get people who've read the book to post their reviews about it. So I think that was very important that we managed to get the word out about the book in the first 2.5 months. But eventually what I learned was that, you can only push the book so much. Eventually, it has to be word of mouth that will drive book sales. So what you can do is that in the first 2.5 months, you can promote your book extensively, you can market it, you can get the word out about it. But what is actually going to get people to buy the book is word of mouth.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what all the authors say and all the book guys say. Mihir, we have Vidya Nagi is actually a known expert in motivational training and all of that. He's asking, being a popular company, did you take permission and let the company know what you're writing, and did they want to, manage what you're writing or ask you to, let them run through the manuscript or what you've written? Did you go through that process with them?
So this is not an authorized biography. So Flipkart wasn't involved with the book at all. In fact, obviously, I followed the same rules that I do as a journalist with Mint. So I did write to them asking if they will make executives available, if they will comment on certain things, but they declined to participate, which I was expecting. I mean, because it is a rather controversial book. So it was highly unlikely that either the Flipkart founders or the company would participate in it. So they did not participate, and they certainly did not have any control over the narrative of the book or its contents.
Tell me one very interesting anecdote in the book writing process, Mihir, that you want to share, which is very interesting and something that you've not shared before, which is very interesting in the whole process. Any person, moment, interview, or whatever.
So actually, I mean, so when I started working on the book as such, I was actually supposed to do it with a colleague. We were supposed to do the book together, and we had spent, I think, even like 3-4 weeks discussing how we'd approach it, how we'd go about reporting and writing, etc. But then after the first 4 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks, I don't remember exactly, but after the first few weeks. She decided that she would not be able to commit the kind of time and effort that is required because she was getting into other projects at that time. So then it ended up just being me doing the book, and that was actually something that compelled me to give all my attention and effort to the book because if my colleague hadn't pulled out, then I mean, at least my belief at that time was that it would have been much easier for me to do the book. But after she pulled out of the project is when I ended up giving, an entire year to the book only. Like I was pretty much not doing anything else for at least about, say, 8 months of that year. Yeah.
So, it turned out to be a blessing for you, Mihir. So,
I mean, yeah, somewhat, because, like as I said, so it just compelled me to, throw everything that I had behind the book.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things actually I've read in book marketing as well is that you got to throw your everything into a book. You've got to be a passionate believer of your own book for you to be able to sell yourself. Because if you don't believe yourself, you can't convince readers to do what you yourself have not fully believed in.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I would say that, from my side, I did not even think about the marketing aspect until the book was launched, which was actually a mistake because the marketing should have been planned from my side in much more structured ways. So I did not even think of, the marketing aspect of the book. And that's why after the book was launched, the first 2-3 months after that were just, I mean, they were even more hectic than the time that I spent reporting on it. But I think as far as the process of reporting and writing a book is concerned, I totally agree with you that, you have to be in it 100% because only if it takes over your life will you be able to, do justice to the subject and, to think deeply about it. So, yeah, so you have to be in it 100%.
The last question, because Jessie is already there and I need to bring her in, is Krishnamurthy again. Since Flipkart had no say in the content of the book, how did you handle the liabilities associated with the content that the founders of the company may not necessarily agree with?
So first of all, like I do with at Mint, I ensured that I have direct sources on every single detail that is not out there in the public domain. So that was to ensure that there is no slip up in accuracy. So that was the first thing that you do. The second thing is that every book like this goes through a legal read. So, so the lawyer that you're consulting with, he will point out potentially problematic aspects of the book. So then you take a call if you want to, say, rephrase those aspects, or if you want to keep those aspects, or if you want to remove those aspects, etc. So it went through a comprehensive legal read before it was published.
Great. Mihir, thank you so much. I think, I would have actually wanted you more and spend more time. But what I'll do is, Jessie is already there. Hi, Jessie.
Hi.
Hey, for all of you guys, I'm just trying to make it human interest. Like Mihir said, Jessie is sitting in Amsterdam. I don't know if you can see any bit of Amsterdam in her background. I think
nope.
Cover it up for you guys.
Maybe a little bit outside, a little bit of greenery. Okay.
Yeah. So we have, and she's Amsterdam and Bangalore. That's where both Mihir and me are from. Humble Bangaloreans who have to be in Bangalore. Jessie, a quick couple of questions for you, and then I think we'll have more questions come in, and I'll ask you as they ask. Is that I know that you're writing the sequel to No Money Marketing.
Mm-hmm.
What would you do differently from the first book, from a marketing promotion perspective?
Okay. So one is that when I did the first book, I wasn't thinking much about the marketing. So as Mihir said, you were so focused on writing the book that you're not really thinking about the marketing angle. And I think I also thought that the publisher would do a great deal more than what they are actually equipped to. So somewhere along the way, you wake up and say, oh, okay, I'm in charge of marketing. Let me do what I can. And then you start running around and getting everything organized and so on. But again, that was in 2009-10 when perhaps social media wasn't that big a deal. And now when I'm doing it, it's like I'm already thinking about the marketing, even though the book isn't completed. So I've already started a little newsletter on no money marketing as a theme. I've started a community portal on my existing paulwriter.com. And I've started talking about it in my newsletter. So there's a little bit more run up. I'm actually done a few free workshops on the topic. So though I can't say I've still put together a formal plan, I think this time I'm starting with the marketing rather than saying let me get the book, let me get the book. Both are happening in parallel.
So I think that's what Mihir as well was saying, that he started it after the book. Ideally, he would have wanted to start before. And that happens to actually most authors, Jesse. What I read was around 95 to 96% of authors, they actually write the book and then think about marketing. I think it's hardly 3 to 4% who actually have a plan in place before the book is ready. So the next one is that, do you have any no money marketing tips for the book marketing promotion side of it? I don't want you to give your book away, Jesse, but yeah, is there anything that you think is really effective? We've discussed reader magnets, we've discussed reviews, a whole lot of things, but is there anything that you want to specifically add?
So one which every book cannot create is controversy. Definitely that gets you far more attention than anything else. And I actually, because I'm in the space of marketing, there are two frameworks that work for any product. So one is a classical AIDA framework where it is awareness, interest, desire, and acquisition. So awareness is your biggest problem. If nobody's heard of your book, they can't possibly buy it. And as an author, it's not so easy. So Chetan Bhagat, creates controversies on Twitter, and then people want to buy his book. That's because at least the awareness piece has been taken care of. So any way in which you can get awareness is awesome. If it means controversy, go for it. Second is interest. So what's in it in the book? Now, my book is nonfiction. So you would have to be interested in, maybe building your brand or looking for low-cost ways to do it. So that's the second part. Then third is to convince you that I'm the best possible option for you to solve your problem. And then, of course, it's got to be easy to buy, which at least now with the online world and all of that, it's not as hard as it was last time. So that's one framework. The other is, which I personally like a lot, is the 6 pillars of persuasion, which we use for any other product, where there is research that says that people go for something if these 6 things are being met. So the first one is heuristic, where you're able to say, why is this thing so special? What's a shortcut about this book? So if I were able to describe mine as the only book that will give you, which will teach you how to build a low-cost marketing tool. And in this case, a heuristic that people care about for this book would be that I am A, teaching you marketing, B, it is low cost. So that, first, best, some kind of special thing I would have to hang on to. Second is trusted authority. So either someone really senior would have to endorse me, like a marketing guru would say, oh, this book is the book you have to read. Or I myself should be considered an authority in the space and people should want to buy it. Like I should be a credible person for this particular book. Third is social proof. So obviously, if I produce 100 people who've already read the book, which, as Mihir said, if I get Amazon reviews and stuff, then people feel comfortable saying all these people have bought it, do I also want to buy the same thing? Then the power of now. So again, people think I will read it tomorrow, I will read it next day, I will work on it next year, which is fine from their perspective, but from an author's perspective, you need to get the sale. I mean, as Mir again said, you lose the first 2-3 months, the interest starts to fade. So how do I convince you that you've got to buy it today? So in the past, things like book launches used to work like that. So you go into a crossword and you do this book signing, and there's this whole hoopla around it and a panel discussion, and people buy the book right then and there and they leave. So you really want them to feel that there is some benefit in buying this book right now. Scarcity, if the book is sold out, nothing like it. But in the digital world, that is hard to do. But you could always say that, look, autograph copies only so many. Now, it doesn't work for somebody like me that you would crave a, autograph book, but it does work if you're a little bit more famous. But in my case, for example, I might offer a free workshop if you were amongst the first few buyers of the book. And then, of course, there's power of free. So what do you get free with the books? Do you get free pullouts? Do you get a free cartoon? Do you get access to an online portal? Anything free that you're able to add. So these 6 principles work for any product, including a book. And when I do my marketing plan, these are the principles that I'm going to follow.
Yeah, so for all of those who are on the workshop, this is what is called a reader magnet. Basically, what Jesse is saying is that, on the front and the back of your book, you offer an incentive for the person to be hooked onto you so that, they stay with you. For example, Jesse said, if you, are the first 100, she can't do a workshop for 100. I think she'll say first 10. I think you get a workshop from me for free. So that's what is called a reader magnet. It's an incentive to hook people to, become something beyond your book. So then Jessie writes the next book. She has people hooked onto her. I hope she doesn't take 5 years to write it. I hope she writes it really quickly. So she then is able to leverage this. Jessie, Naina actually has 2 questions for you. And I think, Mihir as well can take a shot at it. But I think for a price sensitive market such as India, how do you price your book in the sweet spot? With self-publishing, author prices are a tad high. Though there is value in the book, how does a customer perceive the value? So I think both of you can answer this question. I have some slide later addressing this, Naina, but it'd be good to hear from both Mihir and Jessie.
Mihir, do you want to go first?
Yeah, you go first, Jessie, and then Mihir can.
Okay, sure. So pricing is something that the publisher actually is going to decide. In my case, I don't control that much. That's something they do, and they have research which says, books are priced at this price and they sell. So that's really not something I would personally control, because it's to do with their, their setup and so on. Having said that, I think it all depends on the hype. I remember buying Nandan's book and thinking it was horribly expensive. I think it was some 800 rupees, though it was discounted and so on. But I did buy the book. And so depending on your target audience and the longevity of your book, so I may not. So currently, if I look at it, I just bought a Grisham book, and that was 600, and that's a one-time read. I'm not going to be able to read it again. And the Kindle version itself is 500 and something these days. So I don't know if we're such a price-sensitive market, because people, pre-book that book and they're still buying it. And on digital, you can't even share it and say, I'm keeping it in my library for my kids to read. So I don't think price is a major driver. So it depends what you are. So if I'm doing a cookery book and I expect every person in India to own the book, I might consider pricing to be a major issue. But if you are looking at the average middle class audience, I don't know if you're in the 200 to 600-ish kind of price band, whether that is going to be the major clincher for you.
Mihir?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Jessie said. I'll just add that, I think what I found with the Flipkart book was that there is a certain number of people who will buy the book regardless of what the price is. But after that, after those people have bought it, price actually does become a very important factor. In fact, I think price is the second most important factor after word of mouth in driving book sales. And depending on how strong the word of mouth is, I mean, I'm talking about like after the first 2.5, 3 months after, I mean, during which anyway you've done a lot of marketing, but after the first 2.5 months, I think depending on how strong the word of mouth is, you can kind of play around with the price to an extent, but price tends to be one of the two most important factors. Like for instance, we've seen that whenever say on Amazon there is a limited time deal that they run, the sales of the book just spike immediately. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's so evident that the moment, like say for instance, if the book is after discount on a regular basis, if it's priced at around 450, $500, and if on a deal you're like someone is getting it for 250, 300, I mean, sales of books of the book will actually just triple in a given day. Yeah, but like Jesse said, I mean, the price is not something that you can control. That is decided by the publisher. But yes, from my experience, it seems like it is the second most important factor after word of mouth.
Naina, just to add to what Mihir and Jesse said, it's actually a conscious thing that you can do. It also depends on your promotional strategy. Like Mihir rightly said, there are 3 waves actually. The first wave is your core guys who don't have that price as the sensitive factor. The second one is actually price sensitive. The third one depends on how much you want to sell really. So you actually do a strategy based on that. So we'll get into it later because Jesse and Mihir are here. I want to utilize their time well. Is that so now that you're writing No Money Marketing and you will be out with it, I want to ask you, when is it likely going to hit, and what is the role of social and digital going to be in that marketing mix, Jesse?
So my manuscript goes in mid-November. Originally, it was planned to publish it in mid-November, but COVID has kind of shifted plans a little bit. Though, frankly, a downturn is good for my book because more people want to read about no money marketing when there is a downturn. So the last time it came out was right after the 2008 crash, so that worked wonderfully well. So in my case, the market is either like a challenger brand which always needs to look at saving money, or it is a company which has to look at low cost because current situation is such. So both ways it works. In terms of social and digital, so I would like to structure it as an experience rather than as a one-time product. So you buy the book, yes, of course, but buying the book would make you want to learn a bit more about this topic. And so one is that there are a lot of handouts in the book itself, so you can tick and create your own marketing plan using those frameworks. But I've also, like I said, set up a community where you can always jump in and look at recordings of previous sessions, ask questions, hang out with other like-minded people. So the route I would, which I'm exploring rather, is not so reliant on social media, but more on my own platforms. So if I look at social media compared to where I was last time, I do have far greater reach. So like I have around 40,000 followers on Twitter, 20,000 on LinkedIn. I started a newsletter on LinkedIn around 12 weeks ago, and that also now I'm at around 7,000 readers. I have an existing newsletter which again has a reach of around 20,000. So from a B2B perspective, those are reasonably decent numbers. But I doubt if I'm going to be actually advertising my book over there, and organic reach has its limitations on any one of these platforms. So I prefer to use a newsletter and then drive traffic into the concept. But I do believe that today I'm looking, people don't, at least in this kind of a topic, I'm not looking for a one-off. I'm looking for a continuous engagement where I can chat with the author and say, you said this, but, is it true in my case? Will it work for me? So it's a bit more of hand-holding, a bit more of practical experience that they're looking for. And I would like to be accessible both on social channels as well as my own custom built channel for this.
Yeah, thanks, Jesse. Mihir, someone is asking you, you try to interview a lot of people for the book. This is Bhishma. And how did you get access to them? And were there any issues and hitches in that process? This is, in your whole process of interviewing for the book.
Like I mentioned, I was covering Flipkart since 2014. When I started working on the book, I'd already been covering Flipkart for 4 years. So I had an established network of sources and people that I knew I would have to interview for the book. So that helped. But having said that, I also had to establish contact with several new people during the course of the book, and it was as it is with regular reporting. In fact, I would say that because it was a book, people were a lot more open to participate in it because they felt that it was an important story that had to be told, that people should know about. B, that they would be able to speak at length rather than the way it happens with news interviews. I think what I found was that people were a lot more open to participating in it because it was a book project rather than like a news article.
Yeah. So, and I think for all of you there, one of the things that I think you can just connect between what Jesse and Mihir said is that, Jesse said the context was important. When she wrote the first book, there was a context to it. When she's writing the current one, there is a context to it. And Mihir just mentioned when he was speaking about his book that the sale, the $23 billion sale of Flipkart to Walmart was the trigger for him because he felt that was the right thing because it brought a certain closure to the whole process that allowed him to then pick it up as a book and write about it, though he was approached multiple years earlier for the book. So the context is actually very, very important. So one more question for you, Jesse, is that what would you not do this time? What you did last time. Which are the things that you will definitely not do this time when you're marketing the sequel? So so because now you've learned, you've gone through a process, things have changed from the world perspective. So what is it that you will not do this time?
So two things. One, I cannot do will be the launches, the fun physical launches. So, and this partly answers Sumati's question as well. How do you get influencers and book reviewers and stuff? It is to create some excitement. So last time around, my Bangalore launch was with Mr. Narayanamurthy and with Girish Paranjpe, who was then the co-CEO of Wipro. So I had actually, Wipro and Infosys at my launch, and that created some interest. I knew a lot of journalist friends who came for that launch. So that was a lot of fun. In Delhi, I had Shashi Tharoor, who I managed to get mainly because of Twitter. So somebody said, why don't you ask him on Twitter? I did. And then people like Tinu and others, promoted my case, saying, you have to launch your book. You have to launch your book. So Shashi Tharoor somewhere along the way thought I was a major celeb and showed up for it. And then, of course, he was like, I think this is the smallest book launch I've ever been to. But nonetheless, served the purpose. He still remembers me as that. I bumped into him at Harvard 2-3 years ago, and he was like, you're the one who did the book launch in Delhi with me.
Yeah.
Right? So, that part of it, the really fun part of going into, bookshops and doing the launch in Sapna and all of that, I don't know if COVID is going to permit that to happen. So I am going to have to do online-ish kind of equivalents. And my bet is that, that won't be handled by the book publishers and so on anymore. So that's one big change. It's going to have to be completely digital with no offline. I'm hoping things will be different early next year, but I have my doubts about that. And the second thing which I would do differently, like I said, is last time I did rely on, initially at least, on the publisher to take care of the marketing. It took me a little bit to realize that I would have to do it myself. And then, of course, things were fine. This time around, I would definitely like them to do whatever they can, and it is a different publisher, it's Bloomsbury. But I also would try to, do my own stuff in the space and not rely on them, because I think the understanding is what they're good at and what I'm good at, and so they're really good at reaching the bigger players, libraries, those kind of things. We count on them. But regular B2C, if you are not, the John Grisham and the Chetan Bhagat, I think you have to create your own following and audience. So that's definitely going to be one change for me. The third change, like I said, is with the rise of digital, I think there is a lot of potential to create a digital experience rather than just one book, and that's the end of it.
Yeah. So in fact, I think from what you're hearing, anyway, I wanted to share this a little later, is that it was our own experience, Jesse, with another book that we were handling a year and a half back. I think it was one of the most iconic names in Indian publishing, and the author came to us, and what she was telling was that there was not much support. I think they do a formula for all the authors, and that's all it is. You take it, you leave it. Whatever comes out of it is whatever comes out of it. So for all of you there, that may be a good tip to sort of make, is that irrespective of the publisher, it would be good to have your own plan ready, so that you sort of reinforce and build on what the publisher is doing. And Mihir, in your case as well, these interviews and all is what you initiated, right? Or did the publisher set it up for you?
No, they set up they set up book. I mean, they send books to all the reviewers and journalists at mainstream publications. So they're actually pretty good at that. I mean, in the sense that they have their own established kind of network over there. So
yes,
they, like you said, they do that with every book. But yeah, I totally agree with Jesse that you have to take the initiative and kind of come up with your own plan to promote your book, because especially online, traditional publishers are not particularly well equipped to push the books. So you have to figure out different ways of being able to promote your book online. I think something that we tried that worked okay was to actually do a video about the book on the day of the launch, and that really helped in the first 2-3 days. I mean, the video was kind of too long. It was not, again, what it should have been, but it certainly helped. So I would say that that's something that people who are looking to promote their book should consider, if they can send if they can get out the word through videos, because that is increasingly obviously the preferred mode of consumption.
Great. So both of you are time constrained.
I wanted to answer a couple of questions which are here.
Yeah.
So Sumati has asked about how do you get influencers and book reviewers. So I just wanted to add to what Mihir said, that the book reviews, often the publisher will take care for you. I mean, they will share the book and so on. If you are able to find journalists who are willing to review it, that's great, but the publisher will do that. In terms of influencers, I think the best way is to engage them with your book in the form of interviews and case studies, which is what I did for my first book and what I've done for my second book as well. So I have interviewed a number of large brand leaders, people who are admired for the book, so that they at least will know about the book and maybe say, hey, you can read about what we did in this book. And also the blurbs form a very important part, not so much perhaps in the digital, but in the physical world. So like, I do have a copy of my old book. So you see a bunch of quotes from influencers. So you have to really work on your friends to get this out, because they have to read your book, and that's an investment that's not so easy. So you do have to kind of start working with them right in the beginning, saying, look, I'm writing a book. Would you, consider reading it, giving me your advice? So you have to engage them early in the process. Question from Krishnamurti on how long does it take to write a book? I think a lot depends on the author. It could take a year, which is what it does for me, but for others, it could be 3 months.
Yeah. So one thing I remember, JC, reading up, Karan Bajaj, he said that, for him, his book, the most thing that worked was he got a blurb from Ruskin Bond. That's it. It worked so well for his book that that became the biggest thing for him. So blurbs, like Jesse said, are another very important book marketing tactic. And I think it's good to have friends like who can put their names on and say those two lines for you, which then you can use to push credibility and trust and all that for your book. Mihir Krishnamurthy is asking, how did the cover page of the book come to fruition?
Again, that's handled by the publisher. So they have, because they publish several books every month, they have their own people that they commission covers to. Of course, there were 3-4 options given to me, and so I picked this one, and even my editor and my agent agreed that it was the best one. But basically, it's again handled by the publishers.
Yeah. So Mihir and Jesse, I have a lot of slides to run, and I think we have I think another just 27 minutes to go. So I actually have request both of you to stay long if you guys have the time, of course. But I completely leave it to both of you because I just asked of 30 minutes of your time. So after this, it is your generosity, then you can stay back and you can be with me here as I run the rest of the slides and go through. But I think feel free to leave at any point of time, Mihir and Jesse. And I think what I would be very happy is that if you guys stay on, then I think any questions come, then I can ask both of you as well as it is relevant. So over to you. And I think I'm just going back to sharing my slides. Just let me know if...
Just one technical question, Xavier. How do I answer questions in the chat window?
You can just go to questions and then type, it's only asking a question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
okay, I'll just put the answer in the chat window then.
What you can do, you can answer give the answer over the voice itself, and we'll be moving it to unanswered section. You need not give the answer over the chat. You can answer it over the voice itself for whatever the question you find there.
No, I mean, when Xavier is talking, I want to handle questions, so I would not do voice, right?
I'm sorry, I didn't get it. Can you please?
It's okay. I'll do it on the chat window. Not a problem.
Okay. No, actually, yeah, I understood your question, Jesse, but yeah, I think you can do the chat, Jesse. Yeah. Yeah. So I'll just quickly run through because as usual, I think we had a very, very interesting chat. Thanks, Jesse and Mihir. The next most important thing is build a mail list yourself. Jesse was actually speaking about, and I think since I know her well for many, many years now, one of the biggest things that I really think, in fact, I go back to her. In fact, yesterday I sent a message to her saying that, can you just mention about this in the, weekly thing that you put out? That's because, I am aware that, there are a lot of people who are reading it. So, very, very important is, like I said, own your own website. The next thing that I think you need to do is to own your own mail list. The larger the mail list, the more engaged it is. It really, really works. In fact, I think data proves that mail lists help sell more books than FB posts and tweets. I'm not against social. I'm just, giving you guys a distinction between book sales and book visibility. They are interconnected, but not necessarily in proportionate terms. So that's one thing that all of us need to remember. And many of us may not have friends like Jesse and I don't know whether I can say Mihir, but I'm assuming that Mihir has friends as well, and if you would have leverage them as well. Is that if you have a very good list, you can actually request them for reviews for your upcoming book or once the book is out, because then you have a ready-made base of reviews that you can build yourself on if you don't have access to some of the bigger names or them to give you blurbs and all of that. And please don't use anything. Please use a good high quality tool. Also because privacy and a whole lot of other things are a major issues right now. You can't be sending a mail to someone once they've unsubscribed, all of that. And also for you to get a lot of data out of your mail list in terms of the reader behavior, all of that, it's good to have something that's high quality so that you get that data, the dashboard and all of that. So you can actually analyze it to tune your marketing strategy further. So first is own your website. The second is own your mail list. There was a question from Sumati on influencers, and I call influencers the new media. Mihir did mention that a mainstream media worked for him really well, and I just have a tad thing that I want to add to it is that mainstream media is important. Getting yourself in Times of India is very important. For example, even today, worldwide, New York Times bestseller list is the most sought after for any author. And there was an author in the US who actually sued New York Times because he was not put on that list. And that case, I think, just got closed for $3 million or something like that. So, it's so important. But for a first-time author, you don't necessarily need to focus on the big media. There is a world out there which is beyond them, bloggers, influencers, and a whole lot more. And you can actually, focus on and engage them. And probably if you get enough traction there, it may be easier for you to get the attention of the mainstream media. So there are two ways of working out: is that you go get them, and then it takes you to a certain level. The other is you work it out, and as you build momentum, some of that happens naturally. So you can do that. And this is also very good because today online digital is very, very important. So when you do all of this influencer content out there, it really starts to push your book into a wider audience, and it really helps. Jessie spoke about how she can't do the physical anymore. So you actually can do a blog tour. I've had a couple of my friends who've done this really well, hopping on from one podcast to influencer interview to a live Q&A to like that in like dozens of it in a couple of days. And I think that's really, really good because in here it's virtual. You can control it. It's a lot more easier. And of course, you have to spend your time and be prepared and not say the same thing in all of it, so that people don't get bored. And you also have to have your key messages ready. Like Jessie had her no money marketing book ready with her, and then so small things, but it really matters, right? Because when the right time comes, it sort of is a good thing to talk about or show or share about it. I just mentioned a couple of sites that you can actually go and use it for this. Book blogger list is actually now in India. Book pub is in India as well. They were not till recently. And Readsy is also good, but I think Readsy is still very America focused. And but if you're doing an ebook and a nonfiction book where your reader is anywhere in the world, you can still look up Readsy. So like I said before, you just, look at other alternatives. Don't go on to the mainstream media because, unless your publisher is really big. For example, like RK said in the introduction, we do work with a couple of the large publishers. I do know that they have a very, very strong database that has honed up over the last multiple years, where any book that they handle, it's a process inside that the books go to all of them. The information or a press release goes out to this predetermined list and all of that. So that's actually good. But remember, that's for a big publisher, and you have a certain momentum. But if you don't have that, I think you can look at podcasts and online properties. And the other thing is that while we do speak about the mainstream English dailies, the business dailies, and the business magazines and all of that, and the India Todays and the Weeks and the Outlooks of the world, there are online properties of these media houses which are a lot more easier to reach out to and get yourself in than the print or the TV or the other traditional versions of it. So what you can do is get all of this moving, so that your visibility is moving somewhere and you're making progresses all the time. Remember, right in the beginning I said focus on incremental. Don't just look at a big leap. It happens, it's really good, but then incremental is good because you're always moving somewhere X to Y. And I think I've already shared this. Context is important. The 23 billion sale to Walmart, pandemic, all of that. So I think pick a topic that is really, really important for the reader. So I think there's natural interest. And of course, there are a lot of awards, rankings, and listings now. There are very small ones from Quartz to Scroll to a whole lot of them have different articles and listings on best business books of 2020, 20 books every entrepreneur should read. I think biggest books should be there automatically, but you can go and approach them directly yourself. And then there are actually subject-wise author-related listings. So you have a lot of it. For example, women is another category. There are a lot of women authors who get listed. So you can actually do a lot of this. And someone did ask about regional publishing. There is a lot of regional lists as well, particularly languages like Tamil, Malayalam, Bengali, and Marathi. They have a very strong, thriving publishing scenario. So you will have a lot of lists and a lot of opportunities there as well. So there is a lot of things out there. The big media is really important, but yeah, don't just start there, but start incrementally, and if you get there, well and good for you. We can't today go physically, but there is Bangalore Bizlit Fest. Be there at all the talks, ask questions, interact. And probably even why not? I was actually doing this workshop in Valley with I forgot this entrepreneur runs a 200 million fashion empire out of New York, and this. And I actually in the chat, there was a person who was just plugging her book in, and there were people responding to her. So it's fine. I think as long as people don't mind it and you're not insensitive, I think it's fine. So, you don't have a physical, but please go everywhere. And of course, there are a lot of lit fests. Of course, they've all moved online now, but I think you should be there and, pitch yourself as a speaker or as a panel, or even offer to, moderate a small group outside of it. So just reach out to a lot of them. And I think that sort of gets you going quite a bit and then visible as well. Last, I remember I was speaking at a Lions Club, I think meeting about Rajnikant and branding and all of that. And I remember, many of them came up to me and said, "Are you writing a book on this?" And I just smiled at them. But I think, I did realize then and there that these are also important platforms for you to spread the message about yourself, particularly if you're looking at a book, let's say a year down the line. You probably need to start speaking in some of these places, because then people know you, and then when you get out and then you actually write the book and get it out, they actually have a connect and say, this is the guy who was speaking at this hotel. Yeah, he was nice, and I think he was saying something interesting, so the book may be interesting. Yeah, so this is about social. So I've looked at Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and YouTube and Quora. I think Pinterest is a little bit of an odd one here because it's India. But today, I wanted to tell you something very interesting, because on Twitter, I saw this. Pinterest is actually valued more than Twitter. Interesting for all of us, but that's the truth. So these are the assets that you can look at. Considering it's a vast one, and I think we can just go on and on about social. What I would suggest is, is that you pick up 2 of them between that and then focus on that. The reason is that since social consumes a lot of time, it may be a good idea to sort of for you to limit it and then get it sharp focused. Twitter works, quite a bit, and I think you have a lot of opportunities to, promote yourself, and engage the right kind of people. And I think before I do that, let me just go back again. to the screen to just figure out if I actually have additional questions, and then just answer that, so that we sort of have this highly interactive. 1 minute. What is good now in the present age of technology? Is it physical book or ebook publishing from Bhishma? Bhishma actually have a slide on how do you COVID-proof your book marketing strategy. So I will cover that there. But the answer is there is no versus between a physical book or an ebook. I think both are really sides of the same coin. And I'll speak about it from a promotion perspective. And I think there was a question on regional publishing. What is the scope for regional language publishing from Bhishma again? In fact, the regional language publishing is much, much larger than English. I just can't emphasize it more. Of course, I'm speaking in English. It's a book marketing workshop, but I think regional is really, really big. And some of the regional authors sell hugely more than some of the best-selling books in India. So I think it's amazing. And other thing that I wanted to tell you is that nonfiction really works in regional languages really, really well. I, for myself, know that a couple of the South Indian languages, historical nonfiction is done amazingly well. Motivational books have done really well. Stock market investing kind of books have done really well. So the scope for it is really, really high. So I think you can look at it. What is the minimum marketing budget an author shall allocate initially? Krishnamurti, it is something that's very, very individual. I've known of authors who have blown tens of lakhs. I've known of authors who've spent tens of thousands. So it's a very, very huge range. I would suggest that it also depends a lot on you. Where are you as an author brand? The book, who's publishing the book, what is its topic, the context, and the price of the book, and your expectation of the success or the sales out of the book, and also where are you in the whole process. For example, Jessie did speak about she having a lot of followers on LinkedIn, blah blah. All of those factors determine the budgets. So it's a varied call, but I just did give you a huge range for you to do that. And 1 minute. Is there any questions that I'm missing? Please publish the online publishing links you're referring to. Yes, Jay, I will do that. I'll put it out either on the chat or I will put it up. I will just mention it towards the end of the slide when I do that. Vidyanag, how about self-publishing authors? Self-publishing, the same things work, Vidyanag. I don't think so. You need to consider it as different from what publishers do, because what Mihir and Jessie clearly told you is that they only do a certain thing. Yeah, it is important, but they only do certain thing. There's a whole lot more that Mihir and Jessie still did on their own, other than the time. And so I think self-publishing is equally good. It is just that the guys who do a very good publisher, they have a head start. They say this, right? If you study at an IIT-IIM, you do have a head start in life. Does it mean that only IIT-IIM guys succeed in life? The answer is no. So you actually do have a certain disadvantage, but that's all initial. Once you cross the initial hurdle, it's the game is equal. So I think you should just focus on building your author brand. I know that you're doing a lot on social because we are connected, but I think, yeah, you should just follow that path and build it and not worry about what is the advantage or disadvantage of self-publishing, all of that. Jessie has answered to Krishnamurti on how long does it take to write a book. I think it could even be 3 months. I have had authors who've done it in 1.5 months, and authors who've taken 5 years. So I think it's very individual, Krishnamurti, about how long does it take for you to write a book. And also, I think it's in a context, because some books you can write for 5 years, some books you have to write it in 2 months. Otherwise, they just lose their relevance. So it just depends on what is the focus. Okay. what is good in the, I think we've answered that. So is there anything that you've not answered? I'm just scrolling before I go. Okay, great. So let me just go back to my slides and just look at the time. So we have another 9 minutes to go. So I have so much. God. Yeah, so I'm just going to run and I think I'll find a way to share this with all of you. And I think I'm just going to jump fairly quickly. I'll just talk about tweetables. Tweetables basically are tweets in which you embed a link towards the end on which people can click and automatically it will tweet with your hashtag, sorry, your handle in. So so I can say that for exciting offers on my new book, or Jesse can say that for a sequel, and then click, and then it goes on to their Twitter stuff, and Twitter, I think you can post multiple times a day. I think up to 4 or 5 is good, is what Twitter says. This is Insta, and I think Insta works for certain kind of books, and it's very visual. So I think you got to have a lot of visual content out there. Facebook is also increasingly important from a video perspective, and you can do live and share all the original content that you're putting up on your blog or whatever, and also put snippets from your book or blurbs that you've gotten from Ruskin Bond or Narayana Murthy or all of the others. Then you can do that on other social platforms as well. But doing a reader group in Facebook is actually known to be work really well. And I think you can also start engaging at a different level with your audience there. For example, Jessie is already writing a sequel. Otherwise, what she could have done is, she could have said, hey, I'm writing a sequel. These are the 10 things that I have in my mind. What do you think is going to work really well for the current audience? And, you can actually, get a lot of feedback that allows you to tune what you're planning for your next book. And you can even bring them into your writing process. I know of a lot of authors who are also leaving certain points of their development of their book open, allowing the people in their list or reader group to contribute to developing it to the next stage. This also brings in the reader into the process. All these are new tactics. You can try it out, but definitely they have very high engagement. LinkedIn, great for nonfiction business books, and the big daddy if you're writing on, let's say, marketing or branding or anything to do with business. And of course, there this blurbs really work well, because if they see someone endorsing it at that level, it sort of takes your book another ounce or inch further. And actually, there's also much more targeted audience for you to, engage and reach out to. So LinkedIn is really good for nonfiction and business. Pinterest, I think I'll just quickly run it through, because I think, not many use it in India. And I think, you can actually, use that as a platform in which you just, put the, same content out there and keep it going rather than, investing time in it. I actually spoke about a video trailer. What you can also do is, do short videos about, multiple things that you will cover in your book. For example, I said reader magnet in this presentation. I can actually do a small vlog on reader magnet. Then a little later, I can do something about how do you get blurbs from 5 important people. So, what I'll do is I can do this, like a series, and, I have enough interesting content. And I also showed you Rashmi Bansal's website, where she talks about a story a week. It could be, the same story. She narrates it on a video or audio. So, so you have a lot of content creation that you can do on video and put it up on your YouTube channel, including your trailer. And actually, like Jesse said, you can even give a special free giveaway, like a workshop. And, you can also, collect all those videos. Like I said, I can do, a series of 10 videos and then put it on and say, here is, a course for you to do book marketing, and then, give it away as a free a reader magnet. So the options are limitless. It's about how much you want to invest in and build yourself. So it's there. And you can actually, instead of getting the traditional testimonials, you can even have people do that in video. That's even more amazing. This is very technical. Post your Google ad to YouTube, link YouTube videos on your Facebook and Twitter accounts. I have a time problem, so I'll just sort of skip the slides. So newsletter and page spends are the next big tools that you can look at. Amazon is the big daddy. None of us can ignore it. I remember that I attended a one full day workshop where the entire focus was on how do I get to the Amazon bestseller list. I think it's very, very important. It does do wonders to your book. Almost 40 to 50% of all book sales for any author today is on Amazon. So they are extremely, extremely important, but don't get Amazon focused. For example, I know that Google Play has come in aggressively now, and their terms are much, much more, good for new authors. For example, Amazon only gives you a certain commission. I think it's 35% if your book is below a certain price point. But Google Play doesn't do that. So does Apple Books. And they are also far more open. They give you more benefits. So, while you focus on Amazon and you try and make the most of Amazon, my suggestion is just do look at beyond Amazon as well. But yeah, don't ignore Amazon. So see, Amazon is not something that you can ignore because it's a really, really big daddy out there. And this is the process for you. Get registered as an author, get the affiliate link, put it up on your website. And Amazon also has the AMS, where you can actually do two types of ads, sponsored and product display. And I think sponsored is a little more what I call assured, and product display is something that you can try. And I think usually what I see people end up doing is doing a mix of both and then figure out what works for them better.
Sir, I'm sorry to interrupt. We are already running short of time, so probably I would request you to wrap up in a few minutes.
Yes, RK, I'll definitely do that. In fact, I'm running and
thank you so much.
Yeah, so Jesse and Megan did speak about pricing. The only thing that I would tell you is that price your books to sell. If you're a first-time author, just don't look at what you get out of it. Just price your books to get as much sales as possible. The more the readers, the better for you. And I think a good strategy would be to do an ebook version and then give it away completely free, and then price your physical book aggressively, because the first time you get it right and you go some distance, okay, it helps you humongously well. Mihir will tell you. I don't know if Mihir has a second book in him, and I don't want him to make an announcement here, but if he makes it, it'll be really good. But if he goes and writes a second book, just imagine, he would just say, author of a successful book, $1 billion startup. So, then he's already put at a certain level. So, your first book is very critical. Build the foundation. And like I said, don't, think of it as a, end. Look at your first book as a journey. It's a start. It's not a end. So someone asked about COVID. So I said, first the switch to an ebook first marketing plan, and offer multiple options, promote paperbacks, price it extremely, extremely aggressively. There are sites like bookscamel.com. Krishnamurthy or someone, Bhishma, you asked for a website, so you can just write down Bookscamel, and get as many affiliate links as possible, and see if you can write about something that really works well, working from home, handling stress during COVID times or whatever. But please write the book in the next 1 month, because or 2 months, I don't know how long this is going to last, depending on your optimism on vaccine and a whole lot of other things. And I've already said, offer a free PDF with each book. And please be sensitive. Please don't do or say things that people would find it as insensitive in the current context. So yeah, be much, much more sensitive than you would be otherwise. Since RK sounded an alarm for me, so I have just 1 minute to go. This is actually the summary of all that I've said so far. Book branding is equal to author branding. Investing in yourself is good. Start early, establish yourself as an expert. Jessie is a marketing expert. She writes books on marketing. It's a very, very great and good correlation, and helps you, successfully sell your books. go multi-platform, multi-tool. Don't rely on a particular tactic. Go all out. And video visual content is important. Like I said, Amazon, Apple Books, Google Play, BookPub, book blogger list, the list goes on. Just go all out. Social cataloging sites, book promotion sites. Don't leave anybody. Just go everywhere. Influencers are the new media. Look at other authors who want to help you, get them involved. Use tech, and go all out on promotion with reader magnets and other things. Get you on social much before, like Jesse was saying, where she built herself a community, and she's doing that now for the book separately. And there are, like I said, My Book Table, Prolific Works, which was called Insta Freebie before. There are a lot more. Spearmint, which helps you with podcasts. There's a lot of them today, which you can use to, promote and do a lot with your book. Tell the readers that you care for their information, that it's safe when they share it with you, and use high quality tools. Don't go and use free ones unless it is for specialized purposes. And also, even from a website and all the other perspectives, please use high quality tools. Don't just do the off the shelf ones, and please just focus on quality, no fluff. It really is important, because authors are supposed to be authors. They are supposed to be good in their area of expertise. So quality comes with that territory. So whether it's the cover or how you come across, just ensure that there is something sophisticated and slick about it in everything that you do, and keep working on your strategy all the time. So I think I exactly finished it in 2 minutes. Over to you, RK, unless I have any questions.
Sorry, sir.
I have any questions? Yeah, any questions, RK? I just finished. I think I was bang on time on 4. So you let me know if there's anything. I just looked at, I think I have to respond to a couple of them, but I think I can do that offline.
All right. Yes, probably we can consolidate the questions and give it to you if you'd like to take it offline.
Yes, please do, RK. And thanks,
Sure.
Mihir and Jesse, for joining in. It was really fun having you guys, and it was quite interesting. So, and I actually have a lot of questions for Mihir, but I think I'll do that later, Mihir. I'll do an interview with you.
Sure. Thanks a lot.